I knew you were absolutely waiting on that to take ages.
No, that doesn't happen anymore, man. I completely trust you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
For now.
Aye, for now. Welcome everyone to Brightburn, the episode where we deep dive one of my favorite recent year horrors. I don't know if I can call anything a horror anymore, because I tend to not see movies as horrors unless they're like hooga wooga wooga.
And there's like, what?
Hooga wooga wooga.
I know what you mean though. There's a lot of films that come out and they're billed as, or certainly if you look at the IMDb profile or whatever, it will say action, thriller, mystery, horror, and you're like, where's the horror?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's some pretty horrific stuff in this, but we shall get to it.
There's definitely horror in this. For me, it was kind of like the darker side of like a Marvel movie, which for me was just yes, absolutely yes. So we're gonna get into it. But before we go ahead and deep dive Brightburn, we should give you guys the chance to see what it's all about if you've never watched it before. So here it is.
Hey, who's messing with me?
Damn, that makes me want to go and see it again. But then again, I don't have to because I've just seen every kill there in the trailer.
Just going to say that is another example of a trailer that goes way too far in how much it gives away. But I think it's one of the ones that you only realize it after you watch it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because there's no kind of insignificant kills in this film. There's everybody that gets killed in this film matters in some way. There's no incidentals. So, it's a bit of a stinking trailer, to be honest.
As I was watching that going, there's the end. That's how he dies. That's how she dies.
For those of you wondering, this review will contain spoilers. So if you've never seen it, just switch off just now. But I hate saying that because it just sounds like you're driving away traffic. But
and
you know
the numbers just went up. All deep dive episodes are essentially spoilers because we have to use the source material in order to do the show. So as always, we kind of pick the movie that we want to review. It's kind of like a long form review. We'll try not to keep it too long tonight. We'll kind of try and keep this show running smoothly from beginning, middle, and end. And we'll kind of give you our thoughts on Brightburn. So we'll just go ahead and get whacked right. And it starts off, right? Camera panning up. And isn't it funny, right? The way they tell us that these people are trying for a baby, right, is the view of a couple. Like, they've not just got one or we're infertile book. They've got like 40 of them. All it's like the camera literally goes from like the credit sequence, like the opening titles, to then it kind of just pans across their bookshelf, and it's like, we want a baby, but we can't on every book.
I swear to God, I was waiting for the handbook for the recently impotent.
Pregnancy for dummies. That would have been
the blank firer's handbook.
This is no offense to anybody that ever has those issues, but we're more making fun of the way that that this was told to us in the beginning title of this movie. It is very, very clear based on the library that they're having issues conceiving a child, and they're getting to it, and then next thing you hear a big and it's like, wait a minute, what's that? And before you know it, we're seeing a montage of this child growing up, right?
I mean, you've essentially got the opening to Superman. I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, it's made clear for the get-go that this is not an anti-Superman film, but it's Superman if he realized how powerful he actually was and how much control he could actually have.
I think he did, though. I think Superman does know, because Superman turns all Brightburn eventually.
I think it's more I hate to say it, it's probably more a realistic depiction of what would happen.
It absolutely is.
You know what happens? You give an arsehole a supervisor position. You know what I mean? It happens, and it's one of these things that you give somebody that's got a wee bit of prick in them. Yeah, you had no idea what was going to happen.
You go full prick.
Yeah, go for it. never go full prick.
It's like saying to a child, "No, you can't have another biscuit." That right eye, blow a hole in your face with laser eyes. That's the reality of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing that he didn't kind of realize until he was older. Otherwise,
well,
you imagine being like 4 and you're like, I'm the most powerful thing in the world. Cookies, sweeties. He'd be the fattest superhero in the world.
I don't think he realized, mate. He was called upon by the source of his power. I think on it because it was his 12th birthday that wee thing started going Ashoka Loka Choka Roka, and then he was like, "What?
Ashoka Shak Pakora."
£3.99, quick. So we technically see this happen this wee montage, and it kind of skips 10 years into the future. So when you first see him, he's 2. 10 years into the future makes him 12. So he's now 12 and it's his birthday, and he's just trying to get his heat done one night. And then what happens? You start hearing these strange noises coming from their barn, and everything lights up red, almost in the Gate style, that old movie, that old classic. And then everything starts shaking, and he's like, "You're fucking it." And then he goes down and he's like, "How did I get into this, man?" She comes, she's like, "You all right, man?" And he's like, "Oh, what the hell's going on? Oh, I'm scared." Goes back to his bed. One thing I say, right, the movie very quickly gets into him with his powers, right? So they're infertile. They've now randomly got a kid where you can't understand, okay, it was an explosion, they've got a kid. Then he's got like 2 minutes screen time of just being a blank kid before he then realizes, wait a minute, this is how things are. And then you already dislike him. At no point did you get a chance to really like him. You didn't get a chance to see what his normal day-to-day life was as a child. You just knew that he was a blank kid.
It took me until a bit later on in the film to realize that I do not like this. I have no sympathy for him.
Yeah,
that comes way later on. What I would say is that the casting in this film is surprisingly good. I mean,
really
who would have like David Denman, who plays the ultimate knob in the American Office, with Elizabeth Banks, and their chemistry is really, really good.
Really good. I remember thinking that.
Very, very believable as a couple. My initial thought was the chemistry between them and Brandon was quite crap, but then I was like, that's probably completely deliberate. It's like from the get-go, you know that things are just going to go upside down. So casting wise, this film was really good for its main characters. I have to sing its praises for that one.
I kind of disagree with that. The casting's absolutely class. And here's the thing that gets me though, right? So the wee spaceship thing comes down, smashes right into, oh, would you look at that, an infertile couple's house. What are the chances? Hey.
Yeah.
What are the chances of that?
I mean, the moral of the story is, if you find an alien baby in the forest, fucking leave it there.
Pretty much. I mean, it was for me. I was like, all right, you're just kind of picking this baby at the ground. I mean, that must have been an awkward one to explain, but you know, no questions asked. They did live out in the middle of nowhere.
That is a very clever move. Do you know what I mean? These people, Kyle and Tori, is that right?
Tori.
They probably wouldn't have been the most active members of their kind of local community. That they lived in the middle of nowhere. They were hardworking. They had to run a farm, so they could maybe get away with just showing up one day with a baby, and that's actually really clever. I never kind of thought about it until right now. It's not even in my notes, but it's probably a good move. So listen, we live in the middle of nowhere. This baby's just landed here. Let's just say that, I don't know, 9 months ago you done the job.
Yeah. I mean, we have got all the books to prove it.
Exactly. We've been trying.
Imagine what it would say in one of those books. Get it up, get it in, get it out, get it in, get it washed. That's not even a chapter.
So in fact, there's a better chance of it working if you didn't wash it before the next day.
I'm not qualified to talk about. Well, in fact, I think I am. I'm qualified to talk about.
Normally, I make a joke about how many kids you've got at this point. I'm not going to do it.
I mean, if there's anyone qualified on how not to be infertile, how to be the complete opposite of that,
I'm going to start calling you Genghis Kev.
You remember what he done though, right?
Yep, he had a lot of babies.
The other stuff he done.
Yeah, a lot of bad stuff. That's why I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
I'm not going to goad you. So we see then. So it is very quite fast paced at the start. We don't have a baby, want a baby, got a baby, cool, class. 12 years later, baby's now seeing lights in the barn, and now he's got superpowers. To that part that you've seen in that trailer, he's like, wait a minute, I'm strong. He's trying to start a lawnmower. The lawnmower goes flying. I don't know. I don't know if that lawnmower should exactly be intact, because I don't think it would have had you thrown it that far. But it's still intact. It's on now. It's working. And then get this: he puts his hand in the blade, and the blade breaks.
Aye, it really came to a very, very quick assumption about.
I can throw things fast, eh? That must mean my skin won't break.
No, exactly. That is in my notes. Like, right, okay. It's like you've just lost the tatty. You've launched a lawnmower. I mean, a lot of us have thrown something when we get frustrated. The thing he threw happened to go further than they expected. Then he just walked up to it like this.
Well, I guess I'll not lose my hand.
I don't know how he came to that conclusion. Again, it's talked about later on about the fact that he's never bled, he's never been cut, but it was never mentioned before that. I think if they'd mentioned that beforehand, that scene might have worked a bit better. Like, other people knew, but he didn't know yet. You know what I mean? But it just went straight into, I'm going to just try and stop this blade here. So, oh, thank God that worked. Otherwise I'm a hand
down,
left and stumpy.
Bright Stump.
That's a different film.
It's from the
a very niche movie, that one.
Pretty much. So that happens, and then we kind of see him. It's his birthday, obviously, that same day, and he's in the diner with a boy for Breaking Bad and his missus. That boy for Breaking Bad, what's his name again? It can't mind off the top of my head, but he is destined to always play a stoner. Am I right? Like, he's never not going to play a stoner. His name's Matt Jones. He played Noah.
I did not know he was in Breaking Bad, because I've never watched Breaking Bad all the way through. I've seen like the first season or two, but I got bored. I'm sorry to say, I got bored.
One of those things.
Who was he in Breaking Bad?
He was like my friend, one of my best friends.
In Breaking Bad?
Yeah. Science, bitch! Everyone's always referring to me as Jesse Pinkman, so I thought you would have got
that. I get it now.
Yeah. So he's one of his best friends, and he plays. In this Brightburn movie, he seems to be more mature than the character he plays, but he still has that very like, he'd fit right in a Kevin Smith movie. You just know that, right?
Kevin Smith, aye. I do get that. He was very likable though.
Yeah.
Aaron Paul, of course it was.
That's the one. That's the one. So yeah, he was kind of. In this movie, it was nice to see him playing someone a bit more mature, but he still has that wee innocent part about him, the wee innocence to him, and it was quite a shame. But he gives this kid a gun for his birthday. Like, can you imagine your kid turning 12 and he rocks up and is like, "Ta-da! Here's a gun."
I've got 3 words for you. America! Give me the other 2 words.
Oh, yeah!
That's why that happened. That happened. Again, it goes to show you the kind of... It does go to show you that kind of rural American culture is like, oh, he's 12. It's time for a gun.
You can shoot folk, man.
Aye. So I mean, I could see why they did that. What I liked about that scene was the fact that Kyle, his dad, was like completely against it.
Oh yeah, he's like, hell no, bitch.
He's like, you're not ready for a gun. You're 12.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, obviously, he just discovered that
Don't need a gun.
He can stop a lawnmower blade like that. Boom. So when he gets given the gun and then his dad's trying to take it away, he's just like, no. He goes he's like God mode within 3 minutes.
He's like, hey, I think I'm going to be getting that gun. He's like, no, you're not.
So, see, you know that gun? That's my gun.
You know how you said that I wouldn't have that gun? Got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The film does a kind of a really good representation of how mothers and fathers can clash over things and kind of keep it silent at the moment, but then discuss it later. It happens all the time. And you see that in this film quite a few times. It gets worse as the movie goes on, but that's like one of the first moments where you kind of see. Actually, ironically, it's almost back to front. You would think it would be the dad that was like, yeah, and the mum that was like, what are you doing giving him a gun? But it's the complete opposite. And that was nice. It was fresh.
Aye, absolutely. Donna Kinnear says, I have a t-shirt with his pretty face. Can't wear it because it says bitch. Gutted. I mean, essentially, you could wear it. You could just wear it.
What says bitch?
A picture of Aaron Paul's pretty face.
Ah, right. I thought we were still talking about this film that we're doing a deep dive on.
I was like, I'm going to call her Jane. I'm
taking us off on tangents before I get on them. That's impressive, man. I'm normally the first one going to trot away on a wee tangent. Like, no, here comes Donna Kinnear.
She's gunning for your spot. This is why we love doing these shows live, and this is why you should join us in person. So if you are listening to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that cool stuff, if you're watching this in the archives, come see us live. Hit the subscribe button, and you can see when we go live. Because, like J-Mac II, Donna Kinnear, you can have fun, and we can have fun together live.
Yeah, and if you happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a 5-star review because that really helps us grow. Thank you.
Absolutely does. Well done, J-Mac. Look at you. Look at you.
Look at that sweat patches. Yeah, they're coming.
Donna Kinnear says, I am a Ouija.
I'm a Ouija.
So she lives near you then?
Do you know what's funny? I don't know why I've just noticed this, but just on this screen, it looks like you've got wee tiny legs. Oh, Jesus.
Class. So he tells him he's not getting a gun. It's not going to happen. And then they go into his room to search it, like all parents do in movies. They search a children's room and they find, he's like, some good wee Victoria's Secret stuff there, or to that effect. Going through it, and then it gets worse. And do you know how I know he's a psycho? It's not the fact that he's got pictures of the female anatomy and then like the dissected female anatomy. It's the fact that he's put it all in order so that you're looking through it all like linear. Like, this is where she starts with her clothes on. She looks great. She's looking great. We cut her up a wee bit, cut her up mostly. Now you can see all her it was all in order.
It's like a wee flip book of psychopathy.
Yes.
Actually, I'll be honest, I never wrote that down. I never noticed it. So well done you. Well done you.
I'm not just an Aaron Paul. I won't say look-alike because I don't see it, but an Aaron Paul. What was everyone? I mean, when you get called something,
doppelganger.
I'm not even a doppel. I'd have to agree with it.
Look-alike. Look alike.
No, it's more people pitchfork it to me rather than me actually like agreeing with it.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first person that ever said it to me was my brother. He was like, you know, Kev looks like Aaron Paul. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Shut up. And then we've had like 80 comments over the course of the podcast with folks saying, oh, Aaron Paul's got a Scottish accent.
Or Jesse. So you going to Jesse, bitch. So so 10. What am I saying there? So he discovers all this mad porn stuff. Now, do you think he was jacking off to that, or do you think he was just like, right, this is what I'm going to do to someone? Because he doesn't come across overly sadistic, and neither did, or we don't know he did, because we never got a chance to see him in those 12 years growing up and what kind of stuff he was into. We just kind of seen him as that blank faced little prick.
It's hard to say. Like, to be honest, when they were flicking through those pages, I was surprised that they didn't all just stick together. Like, that was the first thing that really shocked me in this film. I was like, wow.
That's how you know.
Wow, that's how you know. Still separate those. They can still separate those pages. That's really unusual. But no, I don't. I think he was curious. Like, I think that the whole film is almost like a metaphor of what happens when your kid becomes a teenager. Do you know? Like, you feel like all of a sudden you've got this little angel, then all of a sudden you've got a little bastard demon that you need to try and deal with for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
I never ever thought I had an angel. I already I got demons that become all right.
I know, but you can still kind of pick them up and hold them and give them a hug, and then it gets to the point where you can't pick them up anymore. You can't hug them without them trying to smack you in the jaw, and it's like you've got a different being on your hands, you know. And I think that's what this seems to be for me. That's what the whole film felt like was like it was a depiction of the extreme end of how parenting can feel like when your kid comes to a certain age. It's just like, I can't deal with this anymore. What the hell have I bred? What the hell is this thing? Is this even mine?
Yeah, I would say that I would definitely say that this was a more extreme example for sure.
Oh, usually 100%. I mean, most kids when they get to 12 can't stop a lawnmower blade with their bare hands. But I think there's some. I know you're a big fan of a metaphor, Kev, but I think this whole film is a metaphor for puberty in that moment when your child isn't a child anymore. I think that's what it feels like to me. Anyway,
there's quite a few metaphors in this movie. There's one that can, you know, when he's talking to the teacher about the wasps and how they can force other insects to raise their children. Was that not what the parents of him have done? They forced the infertile couple to raise their child, then told it to strike.
I mean, I'd be curious to see what might still happen in the future with this franchise. I don't think it was quite as successful as they hoped it would be, but I think it's one of these films that it might be a bit of a slow burner or a slow bright burner. I think it might just take its time to catch on, and eventually people will actually see. I mean, I'm not going to kind of spoil this here, but this is a good film, and it's way beyond its 6.1 rating on IMDb. We don't use Rotten Tomatoes. I think Rotten Tomatoes is silly, but I think that there's so much more to be had here, and it's a shame that it's stopped where it is at the minute. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I think there's definitely more to come, and I think the wasp thing. I mean, even the mask that he eventually kind of puts together.
I know what even is that?
It's a wee bit waspy if you look at it. You know, it's kind of smooth face, but with the kind of piercing eyes. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's a lot of stuff in this film that I think could get overlooked and has been overlooked because nobody talks about this film.
No, that's true, and that's why I wanted to do this with you. It was a couple of weeks ago we kind of decided to do it. It's true. It's one of those ones that I really enjoyed, and I would like. This is one, and spoiler alert for what is coming ahead on our show. It's one I would definitely like to physically review. It's one I would, if I saw a special edition of it that has a steel case or a slip-off case with some extras in it.
Yep. Cliff. Nice one, man.
Yep. This is definitely one I would do. So after they find his porn, we then have the birds and the bees.
Wait, actually, I need to address that for a second. Like when they find his porn, what they found was what we all used as porn before we could get porn. You know, I remember having tearing pages out of the bra section of an Argos catalogue. I kept them under my bed.
This porn.
till the age of like 24.
Do you mean 34?
Oh, fuck it, 36.
It's basically essentially him-made hoose porn, which I suppose for guys like yourself,
it's just not as good as takeaway porn. You know what I mean? You get hoose rice and takeaway rice, and you get hoose porn and takeaway porn.
Aye, rented stuff. The rented. He then gets the birds and the bees chat from his dad.
Oh, best awkward scene ever. Do you know? Mate, could you imagine trying to film a scene like that as an actor? Put yourself in David Denman's shoes at that point, right? And you're in front of essentially a 12-year-old kid, and you need to try and talk to a kid, even though it's lines and it's acting. It must be awkward, you know? And it comes across as really awkward. You know, he did not enjoy that conversation, and it comes across on the screen. The conversation was just brutal.
Yeah, and the kid doesn't exactly make it easier anyway, because he's not much of the conversationist.
No, he's a bit. He reminds me of almost like a kind of Damien sort of thing, where he's just kind of quiet and calculating. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that scene, I did write that down. That scene it felt really awkward, and it just reminded me of the fact that eventually I'm going to have that conversation, and I don't know how I'm going to have to deal with it. You know,
I remember get it washed, get it fucking scene.
That's a t-shirt. So I think, I remember running away for that conversation when I was a kid. Like, I remember it was my mum that tried to sit me down and have the birds and the bees conversation. I remember running away. It's like I literally was like, nah, not doing it. And then you go to a sex education class in primary 7 at school. You're like, wow.
Whoa, kill a bird, man.
Yeah, that was a good scene. It was fun. There is a kind of really dark sense of humor throughout this film. Like, even when it gets to the really nasty stuff, sometimes you do kind of giggle a wee bit, but then you giggle, then go, ooh, should have really laughed.
I've got a couple of images of that to show some of my favorite images of that. And so at this point, he then so it's like he has the awkward birds and the bees conversation, and he's like, Ken, what I fancy doing? Stalking the real lassie that I fancy at school. And then at that point, I'm quite confused as to what powers he has, because he can change our music without even being in the room, or he was in the room, he was just moving. I think
it was a speed thing. I think it was speed.
Here's a question for you.
He wasn't on speed, but I think he used his speed to open it and start the song.
Did you see him in that scene?
Yeah.
When did you see him?
Standing behind the curtain.
I never saw that.
No, he was standing behind the curtain, and then her mum came in. She's like, "There's somebody behind the curtain," and then it was gone. But he was definitely there.
What did you see? Brandon Byers. So what?
Sorry, can we just one thing I noticed looking through the trivia for this thing is everything in the trivia for this movie was, oh, this is like Superman in this way. This is like Superman in this way. This is like Superman in this way. Before I looked at the trivia, I was like, Brendan Byers, BB, Clark Kent. You know, there's the alliteration in the name, BB, CK, but it's the same sound, you know what I mean? But the trivia is full of that crap. Absolutely full. To the point where it was annoying me. I stopped looking at it. I was like, I'm not going to... I wrote nothing down for trivia because it was all the same crap over and over and over and over again.
It was absolutely just exactly what you're saying there. So see the part where he's now stalked Caitlin, and he comes back and he's like that. See chickens, man, doing my nothing, staring at the chickens. Right, guy comes in, he's like, "Are you all right? Aye, chickens are going after Heed." He's like, "Aye, I'm fine." And the next scene, he goes out. Right, I love this. He goes out and he's like, "Well, it was him. Look, the chickens have all been skinned, done in." Right, he's done in all these chickens. He's like, "I saw Brandon was out here. And he was staring at them." She's like, "Oh, it was probably Wolf." He's like, "What wolf? What wolf? Candy cane, candy cane. What wolf rips a door off, like a lock off, and then rips the door open?" Right. So she.
What kind of wolf kills chickens but doesn't eat one of them?
Yeah, but she's like, oh, what's that, Brandon? Don't be stupid. So, but wasn't it a wolf?
But this is where the theme really starts of the motherly protection that any mother has over a kid. I think that, I mean, you might disagree, and anybody that's watching might disagree. I think a woman does have much more of a connection to her kid as a father does. It's because of the fact that they've carried them, they've birthed them.
I don't know.
No, I think, again, we can debate this maybe, but I think that there's more of a physiological and biological connection between mothers and children than there is between fathers and children. So I think that a mother will deny a kid's wrongdoing longer than a father might. And I think that
Have you met my wife? I'm good cop.
Again, you're a different breed. I think you might have fucking landed here.
I'll take it.
But that's my opinion. But that moment is the start of the whole kind of the parents really butting heads about his behaviour. So there's more to say on that later.
I think you're right in regards to, like, are you looking on a universal scope? Yeah, I think mothers are more likely to, and it may be because, but again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but yeah, when
Science,
you're a child,
bitch.
yeah, when you're a child, you tend to gravitate more towards your mum as the one that's going to give you hugs. The dad's going to sit there and like, and that's the. I don't think I have that, and I think that's something I actually lack, and I need it. But that's a whole other podcast. So he stalks Caitlin, does in a couple of chickens, right? And then the next day at school, Caitlin's like, "Oh, we're doing a trust exercise. How fitting, right?" And then he's in like the wee circle, and they're pushing it. That's some scud. He twats his head, right?
It's quite a dunt.
And he doesn't mind that. He's like, he'd say on that. But then he's like, she's like, help him up. And he's like, no.
We have to. We need to give this some context. This was during like a trust exercise. Everybody did it when they were like at the Cubs or the Scouts or the Girls Brigade or the Rainbow Guides or whatever. You would just kind of stand on the ground or stand on something high and just fall back and trust everybody else to catch you. And that was just a done thing. It's probably way against health and safety regulations at this point, but that used to be the done thing. What was funny is like when she, remembering the fact that he was standing in a room the night before and creeping her right the foot, she was like, ew, and stood away, and he fell. And then one of his classmates just went, way to trust the floor. I burst out laughing. It was such a stupid joke. That same kid had made a bad joke earlier on that wasn't funny, but that one, I did laugh. It was like, way to trust the floor, man.
You just know at this point, these bullies are getting it. These bullies are getting it. Yeah. And it's that point where she's like, she extends her hand to help him up after calling him a perv and dropping him on the floor. And he's like, and then he just let Play-Doh man just snaps her wrist.
He kind of snaps it and then pushes it back as well. It's like if you looked up knackered hand in the dictionary, that would be the picture that came up. Everything just went every way it shouldn't go. That's the kind of first moment where you kind of go, all right, this film's different. This is something. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then after that, obviously they're in the principal's office and they're like, your son's needing blah blah. And she's like, oh, come on, they're kids. It's like, man, have you fucking seen my daughter's hand? Right. And then he does that whole cold walk past, the whole Damien thing from Omen, where he's like, right, and he's proper cold as hell, staring at the mum. Then she's working in the diner. She's like, what's that? Smash, mate. That eyeball. How much did you cringe? How much did you cringe?
I remembered it happening, right? I remembered it happening for the last time I watched it, but when I watched it this time, it just seemed so much more horrible. Like you can see in the picture there, right? There's a shard of glass hanging out of her left eye, and I think that like when she starts trying to pull it out, you're kind of like, no, leave it in. It's better if you leave it in. But then you have to put yourself in that situation. It's like, could you stand anything in your eye without trying to take it out? You can't. It's an automatic reaction. Your eyes are so sensitive. In that moment, she pulls it out, the eye fills with blood and starts kind of pouring down her face. But that was really clever. Like from that point on, it showed you quite a few things for her POV. And it was like one side was red and the other side was clear. That was a really clever bit of cinematography. I really like that. Really like that.
A really quick sidebar. A glass like this, right, is my only time kind of being like that, right?
What's in that glass, by the way?
It's an IPA.
An IPA? What is it?
I can't mind which one, man.
Damn it.
I forgot the name. Hobgoblin's up next. I like a hobgoblin.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the whole hobgoblin.
Aye, man, it's a class. So I was putting dishes
I actually struggle to get hobgoblin past my mouth, so I like to call him gobhoblin.
Oh man. So I was putting dishes away one night, right? And you know when you open my cupboard door, there'll be latches that hold it there. They obviously stick out almost like a triangle.
Yeah.
And then it shuts, right? I put a glass in and I pushed it, and you know when there's too many glasses that we push one comes at the other end? And I pushed it and it fell. It fell and smashed off that hinge right into my face. And the smallest piece of glass went inside my eyelid to the point when I closed my eye, I could feel it scraping off my eyeball.
Yeah,
scraping off my eyeball. I got it out very quick.
The thing is, when something scrapes your eyeball, you kind of go, "Oh, is that scraping my eyeball?" Then you move your eyes just to check again. Yep, and then it definitely is.
And then you go, ah! Right. And another time, I was taking a guitar out of the back of a car, right? And whoever had used this guitar hadn't cut away. They'd restrung the guitar and hadn't cut away the ends, right? And I pulled it out, and it went ding straight in my eyeball. And to this day, you can still see where it's stuck right in my eyeball.
And that was the last day anybody saw that guitarist.
Some people say that playing guitar ain't no fairy tale life.
Say they gotta play guitar and say watch a nail.
And that's the last time they ever saw.
It truly was a Shawshank Redemption.
2 things happened that night. Kevin had a sore eye and he never played guitar again.
It's like Boggs never walked again and Andy's farts never made a sound again.
So the cop discovers the Brightburn symbol on the thing. I mean, you're in a crime scene. What makes you go up to a window and go like that?
I did think that at first, but like if you look at a clean window, you can see oil like from a hand.
But why
skin oils? Why did he did that to accentuate it so they could then take a photo of it?
Aye, but here's the thing: you're in a crime scene. First thing I think when you're in a diner is that some kid's been writing on the window. You know, oh, it's a clue, man. Look at that, 2 B's. It's a clue.
It was right round the whole diner, though.
Was it?
So it was. He only did it on one part, but remember when they walked sorry, it wasn't when they walked in. It was when the attack first started on the waitress. Like every window was covered in these things. So I think he spotted them, and they just went to one of them.
That makes sense. And then he goes and stalks his teacher / aunt, right?
You know, I was halfway through that film before I realised that the aunt wasn't Kate Hudson. I genuinely thought she was Kate Hudson.
Jennifer Holland.
Is that her name? Right. I didn't even look it up. To me, she's just not Kate Hudson.
Wait a minute. And I've just realised right now that the aunt and the teacher are 2 different women.
What?
Mm-hmm. They are.
Nah.
Jennifer Holland plays Miss Epsom-Shide, and Meredith Hagner plays Merrilee McNichol, who is married to Noah McNichol. 2 different people that look exactly alike.
Nah, that's confusing then. Because no.
Mate! Yeah!
No. Mm-hmm. Can you bring that up? Can you bring that up on screen,
yes,
please? Thank you.
Yes, I can. Here we go.
Yes, I can. The size of my face.
I'm just gonna hide the show notes. There we go.
Show notes. Is that what you're hiding now?
All right, look at this. Look at that right there. Right there. Look at that right there. Right. Oh. Oh. In fact, we'll do this. No, in fact, we'll go back away. Look. Who's that? And who's that?
It's been shied. Oh
Right?
no. Sorry. No, that's right. No, I knew those were two different characters. Sorry. I'm away off. Because one of them had one. I did. One of them had the big kind of 60s style glasses at the start of the movie, and I don't think she ever really showed up again, did she?
Who?
The one. Because she was really pretty, because I remember her, but I don't think she ever showed up again after that.
Aye, so are they the same person then?
Nah, they're different people.
So I'm right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they do look so alike, don't they?
Just blonde and pretty. That's it. But genuinely, man, I did not realize that wasn't Kate Hudson until a scene that we'll probably talk about later.
Aye. So he goes to his teacher's house and he's like that. Oh no, it's his aunt's, isn't it? And he's like that. All right, pal. He's all the pattern that. She's like, you need to get out of there. You need to get out of here. So he goes out and then Noah's like that. The hell you did, my man? He's like, you're coming home, blah, blah, blah. Gain him all the patter. Then guess what happens? He's like, no. Throws him against the garage. And then the chase is on. Just decides to tell him.
Before we go any further in that scene, what I loved about that, and it wasn't until the whole sequence was over, but what I loved about that sequence was the fact that you thought that it was the ant that was getting it. You think that the ant is pan-breed, but then it just does a total switcheroo on you, and she survives. Guess who doesn't he? But we'll talk about that because it's pretty epic.
Mate, so he gets chased down in the car. And then wee Brightburn picks his car up. His name's no Brightburn, that's the name of the town, but wee Brandon Brightburn picks his car
Brandon Byers. Let's call him Michael Myers. Fuck it.
Michael Myers. And then it's like I'm not quite sure how that happens, but that's pretty much what I look like when I wake up. The face that Noah makes when he's dead is the same face that I make when I wake up. Man, I need a drink, man.
That really gave me it didn't give me the heave, but it did make my bumhole twitch a wee bit.
It's the sound, but it's the sound. It's like
honestly, like my memory of watching this movie the first time. Now, I did notice when I watched it on Netflix today. Now, and it was rated 18. Okay, now I remember this movie being a 15. Okay, so that like for American audiences, that you're talking from R to PG-13. Okay, so I thought it was rated R, and it came out to PG-13. And I was watching it, and there was stuff in it, and that particular image is one of the things that were in it where I was like, I do not remember that being as kind of horrible and visceral the first time I seen it. And what happened, I kind of the sequence was actually quite funny up until that point. Because like Brandon appears in front of the car and he just stares at me. He's like, nope, this ain't happening. And then that happens, and you see his face hit the steering wheel, and I thought that would be the end of it, and then it wasn't. Kind of looks to the side. He's like, and kind of holds it up. And it's horrible, man. There's something about the image of a jaw not being where it should be that is horrific. You've seen it in previous movies like Roadkill. He ripped the guy's jaw off. Mirrors with Kiefer Sutherland, his sister in that film. She gets her jaw ripped off in the bath.
Not, mate, that's Elizabeth Banks.
No, it's not. It's Amy Smart. It's Amy Smart. They're quite mixable, upable. But it's Amy Smart. She was in The Butterfly Effect as well. But she shows up as a kind of ghostly image in his rear view mirror, and like the jaw's gone. And it's just this horrible thing to think of a jaw getting ripped off. Because the thing is, you can survive that shit, and that's what's really terrifying about it. You can survive without a jaw, and that's screwed up, man. Like, I can't talk about it anymore. It's making me twitch.
Sir Jawman claw
So
hammer.
thanks for bringing that image up as a total surprise, by the way. Jackpot.
Sorry about that. So then Kyle confronts Brandon, pushes him into the wall, and he gets pushed into the wall. And this is the first time where the parents are like, wait a minute. You've got super strength, don't you?
Super trooper.
We know. So he gets pushed into the wall, and he's like, well, I can't take him on. At first he's getting at the whole, no in my house. And then he's like, hey, hear me. I don't want any trouble. Don't want any trouble in my house.
Again, that's something that most fathers will experience at some point. They're going to try and discipline their kid, and the kid's just going to be like, go on then. And it's a terrifying thought. It's a terrifying thought. Mate, my kid's 7, right? And he could probably beat the shit out of me than ever. So when he gets to like 13, 14, I'm not going to be able to stop him from doing anything. It terrifies me.
I don't think so, because when your child views you as the dad, as the dominant, regardless of their ability, like Brock Lesnar won't kick his own dad's ass. That's just not going to happen.
Mate, you ever met my wife? Do you think I'm the dominant person in this household? I am not. I'm literally not wearing trousers right now.
God. So Kyle then decides, right, hey, get this. I'm going to kill my child because he's stronger than me. Because it goes very quickly from I got pushed into the wall to I'm now going to shoot him in the head.
I totally sympathize with Kyle, by the way. Like, you can see the gradual kind of slight kind of hesitation and the slight, like, the thoughts about, Jesus, what is he going to do? He's going to kill me. He's going to kill my wife. And it progresses quite quickly to, I need to get rid of this guy. But you can see in that scene where he takes him camping by himself, you see the pain in his face when he has to make that decision. Like, I'm going to bump him off. It's really unpleasant. It's not nice.
Yeah. And then just shoot someone and it's like, ping! Did you just try and kill me? And that's when you really see the fear in his face. He's like, shit.
It's that like he does that and then he kind of looks away to reload his gun. He looks up and then Brandon's gone, and he's just like, oh man. he knows he's screwed. But again, there's wee moments of humor like that throughout the film that kind of break you away from the nasty seriousness that goes through it. But it works. It works really well.
This is kind of where the movie ramps itself up towards where it's going towards the end. Like, very quickly, he decided, right, I'm doing this, kid. And the kid's like, no, you're no. How about some laser eye surgery? And blows a hole in his dad's face with his eyes, which, by the way,
speaking of blowing a hole in your dad's face. There we go.
I don't know how that relates to blowing a hole in your dad's face.
It was just blowing a hole.
So you see here, this is off of The Boys, isn't it? The Boys obviously borrowed from this. Bloody hell! Sounds like a Doug barking back there, mate.
That's what it was.
So this is a very powerful scene. Looking right into his dad's eyes, blowing a hole right into his skull. That must be Sarah.
I like that. It's like, this is a really intense scene, very deep, staring right into the dad's eyes. That must be Sarah. I was expecting you to go on like a wee conversation about what it would be like for your own child to stare into your eyes and just make the decision to burn right through it, and you were just like, that must be Sarah.
Imagine that though. You're looking at somebody's eyes.
But in American Odysseys, the word "sare" means painful.
So he's like, look, yeah. Like, imagine what you would say, and then you're dead there. Like, you just react. All you can do is react. Like, yeah.
I don't know, man. As soon as I seen that wee red glow coming, I'd be like, sorry, ma'am. Sorry for everything. Sorry, Dad. Sorry for everything. Just trying to get into heaven.
It's no that. You see him pick you up, the eyes go red, and you look to your left, and there's the wee dudes with the violins for Titanic.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure playing with you. It's one of the saddest moments in film, by the way. That tune. Just the way it plays over everything, just the absolute chaos that's going on.
And you know that's true.
All of them die. Like,
that's a true story.
Yep. I know. And every one of them dies. It's brutal. We really should do Titanic at some point.
Mate, absolutely.
I think we've discussed this in the past that we were going to do it, and it's just not come to fruition.
I don't think we can do it as a deep dive because we will be there forever. That's like a 3-hour show. So we should do it in a part. We should make it something fun. We will do that very soon. We should also put that on as a screening at Bathgate Cinema. 1,000,000%.
Because I think never thought about doing that before. I think that's yep.
Ross is in tonight. Music makes everything. Absolutely true. Ross. Ross very actually true. Owns and conducts music to movies to musicals. I keep saying that. I goes like music to musicals.
It's like music to musicals. Yes, you can
yeah, absolutely. So then he's like, he's just killed his dad. Phone goes. It's like this. Oh, you were right. He did kill Noah. He did rip his jaw off and all that. Kyle. All right, Ma, it's me. No. So he's like, I'm coming home to smash you.
Yep. And this is where the fact that it was set in a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere really comes into its own. You know what I mean? They don't live in a townhouse in the middle of the city. You know, she is on her own when he comes back, and it works, man. It's epic.
Mm-hmm. So he comes back. Obviously, he's like, I'm going to do you in. Cops show up. He's like, no, mate. The first cop gets swatted like a bloody fly, and I think it's the jump scares. The jump scares are class. Do you not think?
There's a lot of jump scares in this film that work really well, and even the false jump scares are actually really good. Like, I mean, you get it in every kind of horror film where you've got. You know a jump scare's coming, and most of the time it's our boyfriend the first time.
Or a dog.
Aye, or a skunk or something comes out of the weeds. But in this film, they do that a few times, but it actually works well. And then in this particular scene, Brandon just shows up out of nowhere sometimes. And like that guy, what's funny is after he kills that first cop, his deputy gets on the radio. And she's like, backup required, required. 217 in progress. 217 in progress. Or was it 217? Yeah, 217 in progress. And I was like, oh, that must be like some kind of. My thinking on it was going to be some kind of domestic violence situation. Like this is something happening in somebody's home. You need to kind of come out here. I looked up what a 217 actually was. A 217 is an assault with the intent of murder. Right? Bearing in mind, the sheriff has literally just been smeared over the porch. What she should have been calling for was, first of all, officer down. Second of all, that's a 187. That's a homicide. Right? And third of all, intent to murder. It fucking done it. He done it to kill people. They screwed up that police code. But anyway, I can forgive it that because it made for a really tense scene. And that woman who played the deputy, she did an okay job. She did okay.
But you're all right, Brian.
It should have been backup required. Officer burst over pavement. He was literally burst everywhere. It was like something for the boys.
That's what I said. They've definitely borrowed from this. It was very much something that it burst like a water balloon, mate, like a water balloon over somebody's porch.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, although you expected him to die, you expected him to get killed, but it was just like he didn't spend. He wasn't at the house long enough for you to expect him to die that quickly. It was just like it's like listen, everything's gonna be all. No one ain't.
So the cops basically get smashed really quickly, dead, and then
Gory, by the way. Gory.
I know. Then the mum's like, Ken, what? For no reason whatsoever, just snapping off part of that thing that he came in. That'll probably kill him, right? So I'll just go with that.
Well, she knew it cut him earlier on.
Right.
Remember earlier on he fell through the hole and he cut his hand on that.
So he did, and he bled.
Yeah. See, oh wow, look at me.
I missed it, man.
But that was where it surprised me. I genuinely thought that was going to be the moment where the film was going to be over. She was going to stab him with that. That was his kryptonite, and gone would be Brightburn. But no, he catches her halfway through it, flies her up into the sky, through the ceiling, and just drops her. What I loved about that sequence,
her face was all bloodied.
Aye, perfect. Her face was fine. She flew through the ceiling. He took her up to the sky and stared her in the face, and her face was all cut up to shit. And because she'd been flown through at least 2 floors of a farmhouse.
Yeah.
If you get flown through 2 floors of a farmhouse, you're going to be cut up to buggery. And they actually thought about it in this, and they did it, and it worked to the point where you noticed it. Actually, I rewound it to double check that she wasn't bloody before she went through the roof, and she wasn't. So, again, kudos. Kudos.
We things like that we do appreciate. It is class to see. I mean, it's quite a sad reality that we're saying. It's quite class to see that she was all cut after being thrown up with the flights and then let go to her death. That's class.
Beautiful.
And by the way, Elizabeth Banks is a fucking treasure. She's a hell of an actress.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Zack and Miri make a porno?
Yes, I have.
That's so much fun, and nobody ever talks about it. Such a fun film. Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, Seth Rogen,
Jay Muse.
Yep, Jay Muse, of course. I think there's quite a few people show up in that. But there's, right at the start of the film, I think Seth Rogen tries to use one of those kind of poppable hand warmer things. You know, he popped them, then they heat up. Tries to use them to heat up his balls on a cold morning, and it bursts. We'll do that film one day as well.
Absolutely. We can do it as a watch along.
There's also a bit with a lot of brown liquid and sweet corn, which is just horrid.
Oh mate. So mum goes for a fall. She takes the leap, and as he lets her go, a plane is approaching, and he looks at the plane. Next scene. Plane crashes in Brightburn through 316, and it's the Breyer family are all dead.
Yeah,
only surviving is a child who's sitting eating a cookie like nothing's happened.
Yes, and you know that's what would happen. Like if the emergency services came and there was one sole survivor child, they'd be like, right, we need to try and keep him calm while we sort things out. Give him a cookie. Like, just try and appease him, and he's just sitting eating a cookie, like just totally cold. And it's quite a it's kind of nasty. And like there's a really sinister feel to the way that boy portrays that character. I wish I could remember his name. It's something Gunn. I know.
Yeah,
I know. It was written by 2 Guns. And I'm assuming they're related in some way.
It was Brian and Mark Gunn. So Brian Gunn is actually James Gunn's brother, and Mark Gunn is their cousin.
How can your name be Gunn and you not name your kid Tommy? You just have to.
I know. Jackson A. Dunn plays Brandon Breyer.
Is it Dunn?
Dunn.
So I misread that. I thought it was Gunn. Oh, apologies.
No.
Anyway.
The movie's made by, it was written by Brian and Mark Gunn, and it was directed by David Yorvaras.
Right, you want to try that again? It's Yarovesky.
Oh man!
So a fine job on all fronts. His performance, a young actor. In fact, to be honest, I would say all of the child actors in this film did a decent job. Sometimes child actors can be really cringy, especially with something that's not particularly high budget. I mean, I'm not sure what the budget was for this film, but you can kind of tell that there's a sparing use of CGI, which I love. By the way, I love the fact that there wasn't. It wasn't through the roof. Literally, it wasn't. It didn't go through the roof with CGI. That there was a lot of kind of composite shots where it was real, and you could tell there was a little bit of CGI in the background, stuff like that. And I love that about this film. And for a mid-range budget movie, I think everybody in it did a damn fine job.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, man. So obviously the movie ends with Michael Rooker just giving it the whole Alex Jones, and he kind of pays pays homage to Aquaman and the Flash, and they're coming for us, man. The media's fake. Are you brain dead, mate? And all that stuff. So, and I thought that ending was brilliant. It was brilliant.
The ending's
song
great.
quite
It sets up that Brightburn universe for how many sequels? I don't know. But there's nothing happening. Nothing going on. And it's a real shame. It's almost like, remember they tried to start the Dark Universe with Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and it was a complete flop, so they just abandoned it. And I think that was a massive mistake. And I think they've made another mistake here. I think there's a lot more to be seen from this Brightburn franchise, and I hope somebody picks it up at some point. It's a shame that it's not been taken any further at this point.
Yeah, it absolutely was. So for me, it's top marks for the old Brightburn. I know we're going to get to the wee out of 5. So out of 5 for me, I'll just kick that off. Out of 5, Brightburn got 5 out of 5 because it was just outstanding. One of those things I will continuously watch throughout the years. I'll recommend it to everyone because it was absolutely brilliant. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it to the point I'm like, I want more. I want more.
Yeah.
Yourself, J-Mac?
I was going to give it 5 stars, but I had to knock it down to 4.5 for the 217.
Not petty at all.
I had to be petty, man. I had to look at it in some way to try and take some points off it there. Like, this is, you know me, this isn't the type of film that I should enjoy, right? So think yourself lucky that I got to 4.5. All right.
Fine. Memorable scenes.
Yes. For me, I would say it was probably it was a scene where he killed his dad. Do you know what I mean? I think that was the point where you know that there's no going back for this character. There's no redemption. There's no, this is a troubled kid. That whole thing is gone. It's just from the point that he killed his uncle, I really hated him for that point on. But when he killed his dad, I probably hate him.
My memorable scene was absolutely the sore eye.
The glass
and just
eye.
the glass eye, and just the way that he bursts through the wee freezer. She's like, "Oh, look at me!" And he's like, "Is that right?"
Yeah, and the scene ends just like that. The scene ends. It doesn't go any further, and then she doesn't show up until the end of the film again, where she's been properly gutted and pinned to the side of the barn,
like in the pictures.
Yeah, that was nasty. So there we go. Some proper.
Why did he do that? What was he trying to do?
Again, that was going back to the photographs that he had. He was interested in what was inside the human being, and he used her as the kind of guinea pig to actually see it in real life.
Maybe that was his purpose then. Maybe that's why he was sent to Earth.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a wee bit torn earlier on in the film where I was kind of thinking, is he possessed in some way or something? Because he had that kind of Flight of the Navigator moment where he was lying in bed and all of a sudden he was hearing this, come to the ship. It did remind me of Flight of the Navigator. We should do that at some point as well, by the way. Yeah. Love that movie. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, what more can we say on that, man? The film was really, really good, and it's a shame that again nobody ever talks about it. And it's a sin. It's a cinematic sin.
It is. What was your memorable quote?
Right. I'm going to let you give yours first because I've got a wee story about mine.
Well, for me, mine happens to be nope. Just because when I think of any, like, it's not a movie that's huge with quotes that you're going to quote right away. You know, you're not going to be like, oh, like if I say to you, here's Johnny, you know, it doesn't have that.
Yeah.
But for me, so I can only really say nope, because that's exactly how you would feel and how you would react if you saw that shit.
Yeah. I mean, he's looking at his nephew floating in front of his car wearing like a blanket as a face mask. And he's like, no. Aye. I mean, that was actually going to be mine. So I'm glad that I changed my mind because obviously it's rubbish when they're both the same, isn't it? But for mine, I have recently been revisiting a program. I work a job now where I do night shifts that are quite inactive most of the time. And with the job, they actually allow you to bring in your devices to watch your whatever you want for those inactive periods. And I've been revisiting a program that I loved the first time I watched it, which was only last year, and I started rewatching it again. And that program was Last Man on Earth, right? So anytime Kyle said to Brandon, "Hey, bud," I just burst out laughing. "Hey, bud." And that was basically, that's basically it. Anytime he said, "Hey, bud," I was just like, last man on Earth.
That's my favorite part of that. When he said, "Hey, bud," it's when he thought he went to see if his boyfriend was still alive, and it's like it's set up to look like he's coming through the door. He's like, "Hey, bud."
What was funny about it was as soon as it happened, like you seen Lewis turn round, right, and then he's like, "Hey, bud." "Oh, you thought it was Mark? Sorry, man." For anybody that hasn't seen Last Man on Earth, I have to thank my brother Brian for turning me onto that show. Yeah. It's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. Who would have thought a film about a global pandemic that killed most of the population, bar a few, would be one of the funniest shows ever made? Last Man on Earth, Amazon Prime. Check it out. Make sure you do.
Absolutely. So your memorable quote was, "Hey, bud."
"Hey, bud." "Hey, bud."
So, that pretty much concludes our episode this week for our deep dive Brightburn. We've been doing quite a lot of deep dives, and I'm thinking maybe we maybe restructure a couple of the upcoming episodes so they're not exactly full on deep dive and more free reign. So we'll maybe look into that for next Sunday. We are going to be at Bathgate Cinema on the 31st of July because we will be doing the Braveheart screening with Sandy and Jimmy. So it'll be great to see them live in person with us doing a Q&A, doing all the cool stuff. And then we'll watch the movie in stunning 4K. It'll be a hell of a night, so come along if you're in the area. Tickets are only £8.49.
It's been an absolute hell of a night.
But it will be great, so come along and see that. We will obviously film that, so you'll get that content soon. You'll see that what all goes down there. But also head to bathgatecinema.co.uk and check out what those guys are doing. Absolute great cinema to go to, and we spend a lot of time there doing a lot of events. So you will catch us there on the 31st. There will not be a box office banter this coming week because I'm going to be 30, so I'll not be in town, and J-Mac's away as well. So we're gonna I'll maybe get a wee bit of content to put up for you guys, but we'll give that one a miss for that week, just with it being a crazy busy week. But we will be back as normal on the week after, and the Sunday, I'm right in thinking, I'm sure we've got something else. But
we do. We have a very special guest coming on next Sunday.
I don't think we do, because he said in a couple of weeks.
We did have a very special guest coming on next Sunday, but he can't do it yet, so it's going to be in a couple of weeks.
Yes, and by the way, it's going to be a hell of a guest for you guys to see.
It's gonna be a hell of a guest. But no, we'll come up with, we'll maybe do another one of these for next Sunday or something if nothing else comes in. But maybe something that we've mentioned tonight could work its way in there.
No 3 hour long one, it couldn't. Maybe, but we also need to do a watch along soon and find a great cause.
I have been diving into some really shitty horror movies.
Do not waste it.
Recently. I won't waste it. I won't even tell you what they are, but they're deliberately shit and they're such a joy. They're all over Amazon Prime. Dig into the shit horror. It's so much fun.
And then come
they're never going to win an Oscar. They're not even good enough to win a Razzie. They're beyond. They're below Razzies, but damn.
We're going to make one just for the fun of it.
Yeah, we will.
Oh man. So again, thank you for everybody that's joined us tonight. Thank you if you're listening in the archives. Thank you if it's been 2 weeks, 2 years, 2 centuries, and you're listening to this now. I appreciate you listening. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Give us a thumbs down if you don't. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. And just, again, spreading the love for you guys, being there for us every week. It does not go unnoticed. So thank you guys. And we will not see you next. We will see you next week. We will see you next week.
Skin that smoke wagon.